Paul and Fahima Arafat Abdallah as members of the committee. So that is a business that once the quorum is achieved or is raised, then that particular business will, of course, be considered. This afternoon also, the
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Order, honorable members, take the nearest seat. Chairperson, Mediation Committee on the report on the Gambling Control Bill. I think that
agreements with the Kenya Tea Development Authority that include, among others, reduction of management agency fee from 2.5% to 1.5% of the gross sales value and absorption costs.
Dr. Mutunga, too long. Can you paraphrase?
I have only a few, 2 minutes. Honourable Speaker, just that. The final issue. I was saying that it has reduced from 2.5% to 1.5% of the gross value and absorption costs of seconded staff by the management agency. The final issue, Honourable Speaker, was on the timeliness within which the ministry will address the disparity to ensure that tea farmers across the country are treated fairly. And the response is that the ministry has developed guidelines on minimum leaf quality standards to address the declining quality of tea. The guidelines will be operationalized in June 2025, this month. Additionally, the Strategic Tea Quality Improvement Program, which is a 5-year program, has been ongoing for the last 2 years and is aimed at assisting tea farmers with lower quality of tea to improve and to meet the market standards. The program will ensure that factories manufacture tea of higher quality as desired by the market. And achievement of this program is expected to improve the price of tea from the affected factories within a period of 1 year, taking into account market dynamics of supply and demand. Further establishment of a laboratory for quality analysis and tea testing is expected to be completed in 2025. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Doris Donya, that is a response to your statement. Are you satisfied?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Even Chair knows what he has given is the same as understanding that the airtime bundles expire. I've never understood why they expire, Mr. Speaker. So even with the Honorable Chair, he knows what he has stated. The farmers cannot get contented with it because they have said it's the factories which determine the prices of tea bonuses, Mr. Speaker. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but I'm not satisfied.
Do you have any supplementary question to ask him?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Saying you are not satisfied is not
Why
enough.
can't then the chair through the Ministry of Agriculture do a survey to the factories and inquire how best they can help the farmers in determining the prices of bonuses? Because, Mr. Speaker, when our farmers in Kisii were told that the tea is tested, they tasked me to go to Kiambu, I buy the tea leaves, the tea bags, I go to Muranga, I buy Kericho. So they made the tea, they tested, and it was the same. They've until today not known the difference of their tea and the tea from the mountain, Mr. Speaker. They literally tested with their mouth. It is the same.
Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just have an additional supplementary question, especially on one of the strategies that Chair has told us in terms of how to improve the quality of green leaf. Because, Honorable Speaker, I'm just wondering, the fact that a tea tree is usually in existence for between 50 to 100 years, and it is the same one that usually produces the green leaf. So how are you going to improve the quality of the already existing tea trees unless you are now saying that the farmers will need to completely uproot this and put in new ones. I feel like this strategy is not very realistic in the current situation, and it is not going to help, especially the farmers from Kisii and Nyamira, who are very aggressive but are not getting the same prices in terms of their produce in comparison to our friends from the east side of the reefs. Thank you.
That member for, yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Gichimu.
I had at some point asked almost a similar question, a related question to Honorable Donyas, but mine appreciating that these factories are also private companies who deal with their matters privately as a privately registered companies, limited companies. But if an issue arises, there is a Tea Board of Kenya where someone can easily fall back to and request for a special audit. For my constituency, Gishogu, where two companies are domiciled, that is Thumaita and Kemunye, I requested for a special audit from the Tea Board of Kenya way back last year, and this has never happened. Can the chairman, through the ministry, intervene so that we can also be able to get answers from the Tea Board of Kenya, which is a creation of this parliament through a legislation? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Mama Zamzam, hold Mutunga.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi naomba kamati ambayo husika iweze kushughulikia, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, haiwezekani mkulima ambaye anapanda majani chai sehemu nyingine ambayo quality yake ni semne ya huku aweze kudidimizwa na kunyanyashwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakulima wetu lazima wapewe morali, wakijua kuwa bidhaa zao zikiingia soko zitaweza kuchukuliwa kwa usawa, na siasa isiweze kuingizwa kwenye majani, kwa sababu mkulima wa Kisii kama chai yake iko sawa na mkulima wa sehemu nyingine, basi wenyewe pia waweze kupata usawa katika bidhaa zao. Mheshimiwa Spika, na Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nikimalizia naweza kumpongeza dadangu Doris Donya kwa kuweza kuleta mambo hayo, kwa sababu wakulima wengi huhangaishwa sana. Inaonekana sehemu moja ya taifa inapata uzito sana katika bidhaa, wakati wengine ambao wanajibidiisha nao wananyimwa kupewa usawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi ni Wakenya sote, wakulima wetu wote waweze kuchukuliwa katika mkondo mmoja, Mheshimiwa Spika, ili mazao yao yaweze kuingia katika market. Mimi nasema utamu wa chai ni kuweka kwa maji ya moto, kuangalia uzito wake, na ikiingia tumboni ni chai. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo mimi namsifu sana dadangu Dorcas Donya. Asante sana.
Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that I understand the tea sector a bit. Honorable Speaker, I'm not disappointed by this response.
You are not?
I'm not disappointed by this response, because rarely will you find a regulator saying that we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to support the farmers to improve their quality. And the regulator also saying the farmers are to blame for 1, 2, 3, 4. It will never come out, but it has come out in this particular response. Last time this question was asked in this House, it never came out. And I prevailed upon the ministry to tell us exactly why. They have cited the issues of cost. They have cited the efforts that the ministry is making, the effort that the KTD is making as a private entity. And if it is KTD, a private entity, which sets the prices based on the parameters around the factory itself.
Honorable Mutunga, whatever it is you are saying, the factories may be private.
Yes.
The farmers are not. What you should do to help this House, because the foundation of our Constitution is equity and fairness, you should go and bring more information tabulating the amount and level of bonus paid by each and every tea factory.
We did.
For analysis and comparison. If the variable is minimal, we will understand. But if the variable is as wide as the difference between day and night, then there will be questions to ask for further clarification.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the guidance, but
I listened to your statement very carefully because this matter has been lingering in this parliament for more than 20 years past. Let it be you to crack it.
Okay, thank you,
A farmer in Kirinyaga, a farmer in Murang'a, a farmer in Nandi, a farmer in Kericho, or Kisi is a farmer.
Honorable Speaker, I stand guided. Thank you very much.
Yes, I give you 2 weeks to bring a complete tabulation on how much bonus is paid by each and every factory so that you can also do the analysis yourself on the levels of disparity. Yes, Sunguli? Yes, Donya, what is it? Hold on, Sunguli.
I confirm to the chair and the Ministry of Agriculture that I have not received, I have not read, I have not seen this report. So I need another one.
Yes, Sunguli.
Mr. Speaker, I was requesting you to include in your instructions to the chairman that he brings, he has said that the factories to the east of the Rift Valley have more prudent financial borrowing, and that the factories in the Rift Valley and west of Rift Valley borrowed from with a higher interest rates, and that's why the farmers are paying it. Can he actually also bring that kind of tabulation so that we see that it is a fact?
Mutunga, you've heard what Honorable Sunguli is asking. Include in your additional information the borrowing profile of the factories to back your assertion that some are prudent and others are not. Yes, Mandazi? Give Mandazi the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the same, there is normally support that is extended to farmers in terms of doing construction of roads, in terms of tea buying centers. We would equally want to know the number of tea buying centers that have been constructed within the regions that we come from as compared to the other regions, maybe in the eastern and western. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the public gallery Tuwio Moi Primary School from Rongai, Nakuru, Karangare Secondary School from Bere North, Embu. On behalf of myself and the House, we welcome the students and their teachers and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Honorable members, we'll go back to order number 2. Take your seats. Makali Mulu, Ruth, take the nearest seat. Order KJ and your companion, take your seats. Honorable members, I have one more communication on the incident of violent altercation between a sitting member and a former member of Parliament on Wednesday, 9th April 2025. Honorable members, you recall that on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, I issued a communication regarding an incident of violent altercation that occurred within the precincts of Parliament. The incident involved the Honorable Umulkhair Harun Mohammed MP, a nominated member of this House, and the Honorable Iman Falhada Deko MP, former Senator and current member of the East African Legislative Assembly, IALA. In the communication of members, I directed the Honorable Falhada explains herself to the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Chairperson of the Parliamentary Service Commission in writing on Monday, 14th April 2025 by 5 p.m. A further order that the member be precluded from accessing the precincts of Parliament, Parliament buildings and facilities for a period of 90 days, save for Monday, 14th April 2025 being the day she was to deliver her written explanation to the Speaker. Honourable members, I also indicated that upon reviewing the response by Honourable Falhada, I would guide the House on any further or other action that would be taken, not only on the two members involved in the altercation, but also on the member claimed to have recorded the video of the incident. Honourable members, I wish to inform the House that indeed the Honourable Falhada delivered her written response to my office on 14th April 2025 as directed. Upon receipt of her written explanation, I reviewed it concurrently with the explanation and apology tendered by the Honourable Umulher to this House on Wednesday, 9th April 2025. Further, I reviewed the incident report submitted to me by the Sergeant-at-Arms through the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly and the video clip of the incident despite it being unauthorized recording. I think lawyers like Otiendo Molo know the value of illegally obtained evidence. Honourable members, from my review, I have satisfied myself that whereas the Honourable Mulher Harun Mohammed, MP, was involved in the altercation, she appeared to be the victim in the violent altercation and not the provocateur. Accordingly, she bears no fault in the matter, hence I will not prefer any sanctions on her. Honourable members, with respect to the Honourable Falhada, the Iyala Member of Parliament, and having carefully considered her detailed account of the altercation and the apology therein, I note that although her actions towards the Honourable Mulher were indeed unwarranted, they were not premeditated. I also note that she expressed unreserved remorse and apology for the incident. However, the Honourable Falhada was a visitor who decided to tag along another visitor into the precincts of Parliament. I noted that the visitor appeared to have been very enthusiastic in her engagement in the unfortunate altercation. As a former member of this House and also a sitting member of Iyala, the Honourable Falhada did bear a greater responsibility to be of good behavior. Consequently, I invoke the provisions of Standing Order Number 1 and vary the period of her expulsion from the precincts of Parliament from the 90 days that I pronounced on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, to 45 days. For clarity, the 45-day period commenced on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, when I gave the order, filed my communication number 18 of 2025. For the avoidance of doubt, the period effectively ends on Monday next week, that is on the 9th of June 2025. Honourable members, you may also recall that when I reported to this House the unfortunate incident of violent altercation, the House was in a profound shock as to the claim that a sitting member of this House recorded and circulated a video of the incident. To this end, I indicated that should the claim be ascertained, that abhorrent act would attract the sanctions under the Standing Orders and Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 6. Honourable members, witness accounts have identified the Honourable Lawrence Mpuri Aburi, MP, the member for Tigania East, as the member believed to have made and circulated the video. Indeed, members, I personally spoke to the Honourable Mpuri Aburi, and he claimed that he recorded the video for fun, shared with one female member of this House, who subsequently circulated the video unlawfully. I have no evidence to that effect. I take exception to the member's irresponsible conduct, given that he is a senior member of this House and therefore bears a higher level of responsibility befitting a ranking member in upholding the dignity of the House. Honourable members, I hasten to emphasize that any form of indignity by one of us becomes an indignity to all of us, this House, and indeed to the institution of Parliament as a whole. I implore all of us who are members of this House to collectively safeguard the dignity of this august House in the manner we conduct ourselves in the chamber, within the precincts of Parliament, or elsewhere in our private or public life. Honorable members, as members of Parliament, you have no private capacity. You are honorable members of Parliament, in Parliament, out of Parliament, in your homes, in your constituencies, and even outside the jurisdiction of this country. Accordingly, honorable members, having considered the circumstances surrounding this matter and having duly allowed the Honorable Lawrence Mburi a reasonable opportunity to reflect on his conduct, I will now allow him, the Honorable Lawrence Mburi MP, should he be present in the House, to rise in his place and proceed to tender an appropriate and conditional and unqualified apology to the House. If he is not present in the House now, I will allow him to tender this apology at the next appropriate time in the presence of Mr. Speaker. The Clerk of the National Assembly is hereby instructed to take the necessary action to enforce those directions. I thank you, honorable members. Is Mburi in the House? Is he in the House? He's not in the House. Yes, Honorable Junet.
Mr. Speaker, in line with your communication, Mr. Speaker, which was well written, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time such an incident has happened in the House, where there was an altercation and the person recording the video is an honorable member of the House, Mr. Speaker. All along it has been either outsiders or other people. Mr. Speaker, I know the matter of discipline rests with you under your committee, but Mr. Speaker, I feel that it is very lenient for the member to only to apologize, Mr. Speaker, because the crime he has committed might be even worse than the other two who are fighting, Mr. Speaker. And you saw the way that video was showing many things, Mr. Speaker, many things, which were necessary, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that guy must, the member must get a severe punishment, which is worse than, Mr. Speaker, even the culprits, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Let's listen to his apology and see whether it will attract further sanctions. And for the female member who circulated the video according to Mpuri, if he turns up and mentions you and has proof, you'll also face some sanctions. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, ratification of the agreement on fisheries subsidies, question to be put.
Honorable members, take your seats. Honorable Ferdinand, take the nearest seat. Honorable member on her feet, take the nearest seat. Heike. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of the agreement on fisheries subsidies laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 17th April 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, Cap 4D approves the ratification of the agreement on fisheries subsidies. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, report on consideration of the audited accounts of state corporations for Central Region, question to be put.
Honorable Donya, take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on its examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of state corporations, Central Region, for the financial years 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 6 December 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, special motion. Consideration of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 25(2)(b) of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Number 1, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethcon, chairperson. Number 2, Ms. Anne Njeri Nderitu, member. Number 3, Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhana, member. Number 4, Ms. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. Number 5, Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. Number 6, Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol, member. And number 7, Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. Honorable Speaker and members, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee held approval hearings for nominees to be appointed as moved on Saturday, a weekend. This was due to the fact that there was urgency in the matter due to the timelines and also the delay that had been caused by the court order that barred the vetting of the members the previous Monday. As a result, the committee had to burn midnight oil and also spent the entire day first evaluating the report of the selection panel and conducting the hearings physically, whereby all the 7 nominees appeared before the committee and were actually vetted. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to thank members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, all of them singularly and plurally, including the Vice Chair, the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, who is here, Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo, who is here. I saw Dahoud Mohammed of Wajir East here, Johnny Makali of Kandui, Stephen Mogaka of West Mogirango, and the rest of them. All of them, as named in the report, played a key role in actually vetting these members and making this report, which was tendered to this House yesterday, an elaborate report. It's a bit long, but I hope every member has had a chance to read this report, to acquaint himself or herself with it, so that you know the reasons why the committee has made a recommendation that we approve the 7 nominees. The report begins with the chairperson's forward, in which observations are made, including compliance with the Constitution, the reasons why this was done on a Saturday, and the position we take regarding the court order that stopped vetting on the 26th of May. That indeed it appeared on the face of it that the courts were barring or injecting Parliament from carrying its duties. We took exception to that and pointed out that Parliament and the Speaker and the Speakers have ruled on this severally, cannot be injuncted from discharging its constitutional mandate. Be that as it may, this is a house of law. We obey the law as it is. Before we could evaluate the order, we had to obey first. Then after that, we had to evaluate what to do. And fortunately, the judge actually realized the mistake he made. And on that Thursday, he was able to vary the order to what it is in the present form today. The first, chapter 1, which is the preface on the establishment of the committee, is self-speaking. Chapter 2, which is on the background information of the committee and the nominated members, is also self-speaking, and I will not go into this for purposes of saving on time. Chapter 3 is on the memoranda from the public on suitability of the nominees, and we need to speak on this because there were various issues that were raised by several members of the public, and those issues are captured in chapter 3 of the report. On each member where there was any objection raised, we have not captured the approvals because we also received quite a huge amount of paperwork, which were affidavits in approval. But since we are not required to consider these and table reports on them, because we are only required under the Approvals Act to discuss the objections, we did not capture the approvals. However, we have captured the objections as raised before the committee, and in chapter 3, the House can actually look at what was said about each. I will be commenting on this shortly. And number 4, it's on approval hearings. We have tried to capture this almost verbatim, what each of the nominees presented to us, right from their own opening statements, whereby they gave a history of themselves, and eventually we had to look at their academic background, experience in the works or in the various fields, and suitability, which is a requirement of the law when it comes to vetting. We looked at all this, and it is captured in chapter 4 of the report. Chapter 5 Chapter 4 is quite lengthy because I repeat, it captures almost verbatim what the nominees had to say, including their responses to the objections. Now, chapter 5, which is very important, is on our observations regarding the nominees, our committee observations on the nominees. We have observed whatever it is we took of interest and importance. We have set it in chapter 5 on each of these nominees, and chapter 6 is actually on our recommendations. Having evaluated these particular nominees, we did not hesitate to recommend that each of them be actually approved. Now, who are we approving as the nominees? For the chairperson of IEBC, we have Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, who hails from Turkana. Number 1, he was one of the 2 persons who were forwarded to His Excellency the President for nomination, and he was picked from those 2. Then, as regards the process of nominating him, we were satisfied that the process was in compliance with the Constitution and in compliance with the Parliamentary Public Approvals Act. Mr. Ethekon demonstrated knowledge of his area of specialty, which is law, and that he satisfies to be a judge of the Supreme Court, which is a requirement for his appointment. He has more than 15 years of practice, and he also has a lot of experience in other matters, including conflict management, which we think is very important, and especially because of the disputes that arise after elections. There was an objection to Mr. Efekon's appointment on the basis that he is closely related to the governor, to the former governor of Turkana, Mr. Josephat Nanok. This was in a sworn statement, and therefore we are to deal with it. On the interrogation, Mr. Efekon confirmed that he has no relationship whatsoever with Mr. Josephat Nanok, apart from work-related relationship. That at one time, he was appointed as the county attorney of Turkana, and he worked with Mr. Josephat Nanok. Even after Mr. Josephat Nanok left office, he continued working with the governor who is presently in that office, and therefore, work-related relationship cannot be a bar to his becoming the chairperson. Otherwise, he demonstrated knowledge of electoral matters, he demonstrated knowledge of law, and he actually confirmed that he has the spine to deal with elections in the Republic, which are ordinarily very emotive. With those remarks, we are convinced that he suits to actually be the chairperson of the IEBC. The second person was Ms. Anne Jerry Derito, who currently is the registrar of political parties. She has worked for over 10 years with the IEBC, where she rose to become a director. Therefore, in our view, we actually termed her as an insider, a person who knows how IEBC works. There was an objection to her nomination on the basis that she is a state officer. The person who objected stated that the appointment was contrary to the law because she is a state officer. And unfortunately, the law is clear, which is that you cannot be appointed when you are a state officer. The word used is appointment and not nomination. She was able to clarify to our satisfaction that she has not been appointed, she has only been nominated. The third person is Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana. Mr. Muhwana, who actually is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with over 11 years experience. On top of that, he has been a teacher for a long time, amongst the many other things he has done. What struck the committee with satisfaction was his ability to communicate. Mr. Muhwana is a good communicator, especially when he started giving us his journey through life in Kiswahili. Eventually, he answered our questions in English. He is able to speak both languages in a manner that he will be able to relay matters of IEBC to the country when the time comes. So, to him, the gem he takes to IEBC is that of communication, and I hope he will make use of it, because the one reason Kenyans have a problem with IEBC, the trust issues we have with IEBC, is purely because communication is not as good. We want to hear what is happening at every step of everything, including awarding of contracts, so that nobody feels we are being shortchanged or somebody is trying to do things under the table with a view to delivering elections that are not credible, fair, and justifiable. Mr. Muhwana will fit that shoe so well. The fourth candidate was Mary Karen Sorobit, another advocate of the High Court of Kenya, who came in with experience from many institutions of the government, including the Advocates Complaints Commission, vetting of judges, and many other areas that she has served in for the last almost 20 years as an advocate. Mary Karen suits the position. We felt that as a lady again, she also gets now into the gender equality, which is very important, and also as a person from South Rift, then again, regional balance is achieved. The fifth person was Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan. Hassan Nur Hassan has worked in the public service for over 40 years. Although today he is not working with the public service, he has great knowledge in the matters public. He has great knowledge in the matters dispute and conflict resolution, as he demonstrated. In fact, due to his age, we said the rest of them are young. We require somebody of his age to guide the commission when the time comes. Therefore, in spite of objections raised to him, and there were many, including that he had been in the Rift Valley when there was the clashes, he was able to show that even when he was there and the clashes occurred, he was able to quell them, he was able to resettle these persons, and peace was restored. There was an objection to his relationship with a member of parliament. We will not discuss that much, apart from he is a brother-in-law to the member of parliament. Anything else was not material in the objection, because, as we have said, he is a senior citizen. In fact, his response was that he was where he is even before that member of parliament was born. So it is coincidental that one of them is married to the sister of the other, which does not affect, it does not impair his way of delivering results when it comes working for IEBC. With those reasons, we were convinced that his relationship to the member of parliament was actually not material to the way he was going to discharge his duties. Number 6 was Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol, a gentleman who has worked in the universities ever since time immemorial, with an advanced age, which we also felt was extremely useful for this commission. Number 1, he has great experience in quantity surveying, geospatial engineering, and many other matters he brought before us. He struck the nation because they were listening to him as a person who is highly knowledgeable in the matters relating to the earth and the way you can subdivide the earth. All of you are looking forward to having constituencies delimited. And here is one person who is able to match the size of the constituency with the number of persons so that we are able to arrive at a fair and just decision. Therefore, Mr. Francis Aduol is suitable to be a member when it comes to exactly what Kenyans expect, which is fair representation on the basis of constituencies. We did not hesitate to approve Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol to become a member of the IEBC. Finally, there was a young lady who came from a place called Shela in Lamu. Young, she's 32 years old, and the first impression she created was that of a youth. Therefore, youths who have been extremely agitated, they have been anxious, they have been complaining that they do not get involved in such important matters like electoral matters, IEBC, etc. Now have one of their own in this particular commission. So, Ms. Fahima represents the youth.
There is a point of order.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard the able chair of this committee refer to this lady, Fahima, and use the word, she created the impression of being a youth. I thought you'd say she is a youth. That impression, that statement is misleading. So, and because we are on the floor of the House, can you correct that and say she is indeed a youth?
Murugara, did she create an impression or she's a youth?
No, she is a youth. Yes. She is actually a youth,
yes,
as required in law.
Yes.
All right? What the impression was, being 32, when she actually appeared, we thought she was in her 20s. Otherwise, she's 32 years old, extremely knowledgeable. No.
That is not a qualification.
That is not a point to be considered, Honorable. Although Honorable Farah kept on constantly repeating that one, and some members found it quite curious. When he gets a turn to speak, he will possibly speak on it. But this young lady has worked ever since she left.
Yes, Honorable Farah.
The Honorable Chair is casting up aspersions on me. He doesn't know that my wives are watching this now. And he wants to land me in problem when I go back home. So
he's saying you have roving eyes. Eh? You have roving eyes.
Thank you, Honorable Farah. The operative word is wives. The wives are watching, not wife. However, he observed it, and let him just tell us something about it. This young lady has worked right from her days after university with Lamu County. She has been a ward admin. She has risen all the way today. She is the CECM finance in that county. So when we evaluated her, she actually met all the parameters that were required. Number one, she's a youth, we repeat. So the youths of the Republic of Kenya are taken care of. And they should not complain again that we, the elderly gentlemen or gentle ladies, are actually avoiding them when it comes to matters important as this one. Number two, she is a lady because she cannot be anything else. Gender. So the ladies have produced a youth who will represent the youths, both the men and the women. And this is extremely important. Number three, she's from a small community. Although Bajuni, she's a Shela, a small community in Lamu, not very developed, marginalized to some extent, but she has actually been able to rise to that important position. And number four, the education. She holds a degree from the university, Kenyatta University. She has worked in senior positions, and she has demonstrated she is able to deliver. And our question was this: can she stand up and defend IEBC when it is under attack, especially by the youth? She demonstrated that she will be speaking directly to the youths. Matters IEBC. When they issue, when they are questioned, when there are questions to be answered, she will be speaking to the youths directly so that they can hear her and understand her. So, with those very many remarks, we looked at every one of them. We were satisfied that they suit the nominations given to them, and we did not again hesitate to approve all of them. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, allow me kindly to beg and move and then request the senior counsel in the House, with the permission from my vice chair who is here. Yeah, these days, you know, we are broad-based, and we have to be broad-based everywhere. With my vice chair who is here and is listening attentively. The senior counsel is no other than Honorable Otiende Amolo, the Member of Parliament for Arieda, who sat throughout, listened to these people writing the reports and everything else. Senior counsel, kindly, Mr. Speaker, allow me so that he seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this special motion, and I thank my chairman, my vice chairman, and the other members for sacrificing not just their Saturday, but their Madaraka. For us, we had no Madaraka on this day because we sat throughout. Mr. Speaker, it's important that Kenyans and this House understands the context in which we are recommending all the nominees to be passed. First of all, Mr. Speaker, we had a very robust vetting session. It was covered live in most of the stations. We posed to the nominees all the questions that had been raised by those who had objected. And there were 3 people who objected, Dr. Gikenyi, Mr. Omondi, and Ms. Masinde. And it is their constitutional right to object. But we were satisfied that all the objections they had raised were sufficiently dealt with to our satisfaction. It is important also to note that in some cases, we actually had to recall some of the nominees for further clarification when some of the members also raised issues which looked like they were not sufficiently addressed. And they came back and answered those questions sufficiently. Mr. Speaker, let me just very briefly speak to some of this. I think the chairman has covered a lot of them. Let me start with the nominee for chair, Erastus Ethekon. It is important to note that for you to be chair of IEBC, you must be qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court under Article 166. To be a judge of the Supreme Court, you need either to have practiced for 15 years as an advocate, or been a judicial officer for 15 years, or have done something relevant in the field of law. We were satisfied that this nominee had practiced for 22 years continuously. But in addition, the work he has done over the period, including his current station as an expert in the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in South Africa, qualifies him in any other relevant field of law. And that is why we have recommended him. Mr. Speaker, Madam Anne Deritu, objection was based on the fact that she is currently serving as the Registrar of Political Parties. Now, that was satisfied, Mr. Speaker, as explained by the chair, on the issue that the disqualification is on appointment. And this nominee produced to us a ruling by our own speaker of 4th December 2014, which has been religiously followed, that the disqualification comes at the point of appointment, and assured us that should she be successful, she will resign before appointment, and therefore it satisfied that objection. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Moses Alutalala is a man whose journey, who has had an odious educational odyssey, having qualified first as a primary school teacher with a diploma, and then rose through self-education to be one of the first parallel students in law. And his journey has been very long. But of note to us is the fact that he was admitted as an advocate in the year 2014 and was able to produce to us every practicing certificate each year since then. And that satisfies the idea of being a practitioner of at least 10 years. And that's why we were satisfied. Mr. Speaker, Mary Karen Sorobit has practiced law for 29 years. But an objection was raised that she may have been a member of the governing council of a political party, contrary to Article 88. This nominee was able to demonstrate to us that although she served as a deputy CEO in one of the political parties, she was never a member of the governing body, and went to the registrar of political parties and produced those who were members of the governing body for Jubilee since inception, and even for UDA, and therefore was able to demonstrate that she is not disqualified under that rubric. Hassan Nur Hassan is a gentleman with about 40 years in public administration as required by Section 6 of the IEBC Act. But of note was an objection that had been raised under Article 88(2)(a), that he may have vied as a governor within the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hassan was able to demonstrate to us by reading the express provisions of the Constitution that the disqualification only applies to members of parliament and MCAs, not those who vie for president, not those who vie for governor. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we came to the conclusion that you cannot import a disqualification into the express provision of a text. And therefore, we were able to find that he was not disqualified. The other nominee is Professor Francis Aduol. Mr. Speaker, this Professor Francis Aduol was quite impressive. He is a professor of geospatial science and engineering. Shall I repeat? is a professor of geospatial science and engineering. And part of his specialty, his first PhD, was on the study of the earth. And he told us he can actually tell where any of you are at any one point if he gets your phone number or something like that. But of importance is the fact that one of his areas is delimitation of boundaries. Delimitation, including the focus on what weight should be placed on population, size, and even poverty. And we came to the conclusion that of all the nominees, this nominee will be very helpful to the Commission when it comes to the issue of delimitation. And we are all aware that we are immensely out of time on the question of delimitation. We are also all aware that it's a very emotive matter. It was important to note that Professor Duol has worked with all the bodies that have dealt with this issue, from the Interim Independent Boundaries Commission to the Committee of Experts to the IEBC and every other body. And therefore, we had no hesitation in recommending him. Mr. Speaker, Fahima Abdallah, I think that the chairman has spoken to all that there is to speak. She ticks the three very important boxes: youth, minority, and gender, and has had at least 10 years in public administration. Mr. Speaker, this particular nominee was accompanied by her father, and one of the members had the courage to ask whether she was married or not, which was not part of our consideration. And I've heard Honorable Farah objecting that the chair is casting aspersion. But Mr. Speaker, I do not see any aspersions there, because I know Honorable Farah is allowed by religion more than one wife, to get even up to the fourth. And even after getting to the fourth, I am sure Honorable Farah is allowed by religion to divorce. Talak, talak, talak. So, so it means Honorable Farah remains permanently eligible.
There is a point, Honorable Farah.
Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a conspiracy against
You
me
seem
from
to
my
have
No.
you seem to have exhibited some profane behavior.
No.
In the committee.
No. The senior counsel.
What is your point of order?
My point of order is that I did not say that this lady is single. You know what I mean? So, of course, somebody said.
What is your point of order? You are compounding the allegation. Because you seem to be very excited.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Jeanette, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the aid of Honorable Farah. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, the Honorable Farah is the cuckoo danger of Northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker. You know what I mean, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
This is the real cuckoo danger, Mr. Speaker, the way you're seeing it.
Yes, Zamzam. Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niwaambie Mheshimiwa Tendo Amolo na wenzake, huyu ni mtoto wetu mrembo sana, mzuri, lakini hajakuja hapo masala ya ndoa, amekuja pale kuchapa kazi. Ni mwanamke, na wanawake wakionekana sehemu, sionekane ndoa tu, wapewe nafasi yao ya kuweza kujenga taifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Otienda Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually agree with the Honorable Zamzam, but hasten to remind her that there is also a right to marry. So it's not excluded in the Constitution. And I am happy that Honorable Farah has sustained his excitement right from vetting to this committee. Mr. Speaker, I second.
Order member on the feet, take your seat. Who is that member with his back to the Speaker? Take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 10, which is that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, Chairperson. 2. Ann Nderitu Njeri, Member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, Member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, Member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, Member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Adwol, Member. And 7. Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, Member. Kamket, how many honorable members, how long do you want us to take on this? How many? Let me allow some debate, and I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. Yes, Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Honorable Kamket, I have a proposal from the Minority Whip that you can compress your contributions in 3 minutes. I'm sure you are capable of doing that, and everybody else. Kamket?
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what if you cannot say it in 2 minutes or 3, then you better not say it. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the ruling you made that the vetting of these commissioners or proposed nominees continues, because the attempt to block Parliament would not have been constitutional. Mr. Speaker, the delay in the appointment or in the nomination of the IEBC has been very costly to this country. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I feel for the people of Banisa constituency, Msambweni constituency, Magarini constituency, Ugunja, Mbeere North, Malava, as well as the constituency of the nominated member left by Honorable John Mbadi. As well as, Mr. Speaker, the several ward vacancies that have been caused by the delay in the delay of the constitution of this commission. Mr. Speaker, when the IEBC, when we approve this commission, their hands will be full as they seek, Mr. Speaker, to look at, number one, the delimitation of boundaries in the constituencies. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of the constituencies that I believe, as we move forward, that needs to be divided into 3 is Tiati constituency. Tiati constituency deserves to have 3 members of parliament. It's not because that I'm not capable of representing Tiati as it is now, but the size and the population, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the commission needs time to look at the operationalization of the KIMS kits, because that is one of the major revolutionary achievements that we achieved as we reformed our constitution and we reformed the IEBC Act at the beginning. Mr. Speaker, one of the most important things in our election cycle is this thing called KIMS. And I want to tell all those lazy politicians who always want to blame the referee. Mr. Speaker, I have hardly spoken. And I see the red light is there. Mr. Speaker, it is important for any politician to understand that votes can only be found by hard work. All those politicians who come and blame the referee, Mr. Speaker.
Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
When I gave you 3
Mr. Speaker,
minutes,
from
you
the
said
onset,
you
let
can
me
finish in
say I support the approval of these 7 great Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we do not have a perfect society. That's why God, the Almighty, allowed us to submit to the will of God. And the will of God also allows us to have rules in the form of regulations, constitutions, and everything else. Mr. Speaker, having said this, these individuals have gone through all the due process. We have an election, we have a constitution, we have an election act, Mr. Speaker. The election act stipulates that we ought to have a panel. The panel mandate is clearly spelled out, Mr. Speaker. We have the Public Appointment Act. We have the vetting, the entire process. They have gone through, they have been subjected to public participation. The public have also had the right to say what they wanted to say. And ultimately, the concerned committee made a decision that these 7 individuals were eligible to be approved by this House. But Mr. Speaker, we must speak as Kenyans. We have politicized literally everything, Mr. Speaker, in this country. Isn't it the high time that we think out of the box and be prepared to contribute to the continued peace, stability, respect, and tranquility, Mr. Speaker, so that as a country, we are respected, we respect ourselves, we are respected regionally, we are respected continentally, and we are respected globally, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, right now, everything bad in this region, we have been projected as a society that ever complains. We have been projected as a society that does not believe in itself. We have been projected as a society that does not have faith in its own administrative mechanism. Mr. Speaker, I know managing elections is a very difficult time. The membership, out of the 7, quite a number of them come from the pastoral community. Wherever they are, I want to ask them this. You have been entrusted with a very important exercise. I may not talk to you individually, but collectively, we want you to carry the image of this republic. We want you to continue to project the respect the Kenyan people, through this parliament, have allowed you. Mr. Speaker, I do know right now that many people maliciously, capriciously, have tried to impute improper motive on these individuals. Mr. Speaker, I do know that once they are approved, and I pray that this other process is going to be shortened, they will carry the flag of this country high, they will project our image, they will continue to protect Kenya as a very important premier republic, and ultimately give us a credible election in 2027, Mr. Speaker.
Time up. Joseph Emathe, member for Turkana. Give him the mic.
Speaker, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. First, allow me to thank the committee that was able to vet and bring out a good report of these people. Honorable Speaker, from the background, I want to speak to this man called Erastus Ethekon, the chair for IEBC. Honorable Speaker, this is a demonstration of equity, a demonstration of inclusion, and Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee plus those who were able to nominate him. Honorable Speaker, first, this is a rare gem, Honorable Speaker, and I will want to attach it to a hummingbird, that in the first northern frontiers of Kenya, we were able to get a man who was determined and was able to rise up from a humble background, from the dust, from areas that are excluded, from areas that are always denied an opportunity, to where he has become. Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird again, Erastus was able to become the first breed of law students from Turkana. And Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird, he was able to flap his wings very hard many times to be what he became and to even be interviewed in that panel. Honorable Speaker, second, Erastus has been able to even be interviewed as a judge for this country. An opportunity was not able to get, but given his background, Erastus rose to be interviewed in that committee or board. Honorable Speaker, as at now, I want to say as a hummingbird, this Erastus will be able to go fast and even be able to land at an opportune time. Second, this guy will be able to even maneuver in the darkness and be able to get the direction. And Honorable Speaker, this is a man that I know, given our democracy, he will be able to be acquitted with whichever that is required and be able to give us a drop of what it means to have a fair election. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kupongeza kamati ambayo iliweza kuwapiga msasa hawa makamishna, wakahakikisha kuwa baada ya muda mrefu Wanakenya walikuwa wanauliza tunaelekea wapi, mwisho wakawapa jawabu kuwa ni hawa ambao wameteuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze kuwapongeza makamishna wote ambao wameteuliwa wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wao, na niseme kuwa kama Wanakenya tunafurahi kwa sababu tumeona wamechanganya. Leo tumepata chair ambaye ametoka katika jamii ambayo ni ya wachache, na hii inaonyesha kuwa Kenya tumekubali uongozi ni kutoka mahali popote. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi hasa ninasimama kwa sababu ya mtoto wangu ama mwanangu ama niseme mtoto wa Pwani Faima, ambaye ametoka katika jamii ndogo sana kule Shela. Mheshimiwa Spika, nilikuwa nafuatilia vetting yao wakati unapigwa msasa, na nilikuwa naangalia maswali vile yanavyoulizwa katika ile kamati, na nikasema huyu mtoto ama youth amekuwa na ujasiri mkubwa sana na ameshika bendera ya vijana wetu katika taifa kwa kuweza kuonyesha kuwa pia vijana wana nguvu na ari ya kushika katika sehemu kama hizi ambazo ni sehemu kubwa sana katika taifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi napenda kuombea Mungu, najua hino kazi na mitihani mingi sana, lakini nawaombea Mungu inshallah wakati ambapo utafika wa kuanza kufanya kazi zao, wao wanaweza kulindwa na Mwenyezi Mungu na wasimame na uhaki na usawa. Hatutaki kuangalia ama kuona maafa katika taifa, tunawategemea kutoa haki kwa wananchi. Na Faima, mimi nasema kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, na kuombea Mungu sana. Umetuheshimisha wanawake, na umeheshimisha vijana. Ulizungumza kwa ujasiri, umeonyesha elimu yako ilipofikia, na mimi napenda sana na nimependezwa sana na kuombea Mwenyezi Mungu na azidi kukubariki pamoja na wenzako na Kenya izidi kuenda mbele. Kwa hiyo tuko tayari kwenye uchaguzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to rise in support of this motion for the approval of the nominees for the IEBC Commission. Honorable Speaker, first is worth noting, Honorable Speaker, that as much as the committee and the panel have done a very good job in vetting these nominees, first the panel in interviewing them and the committee in vetting them, we have been without an IEBC Commission now for the last almost 3 years. And we are indeed 3 years late in establishing an IEBC Commission. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I agree with you when you said that there is nobody under our Constitution who can injunct us from either vetting or approving these names. Honorable Speaker, I also want to speak to those who are in the judiciary to be considerate of the circumstances that we are in as a nation. Honorable Speaker, moving on to the nominees, it's saddening, Honorable Speaker, that because of politics, a number of us out there had started demonizing some of these nominees largely on account of where they
Majority
come
Leader,
from.
although you are entitled to 15 minutes, but I want you to be considerate and speak for much less.
I will endeavor to do that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying it was very inconsiderate also, now that I want to be considerate, to hear somebody who has held a high national office assert that Erastus, the nominee, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, the nominee for chair, does not warrant to hold that position on account of where he comes from. It was sad, Honorable Speaker, that somebody can say, because Erastus comes from a community that he perceives not to have shares or adequate shares in his own analysis, that Ethekon does not deserve to chair this commission. Honorable Speaker, if you read through the CV of this gentleman, a master's in law from the University of Derby in the UK, a postgraduate, a bachelor's from the University of Nairobi in law. This is someone who qualifies to be a judge of the High Court or even the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker. And that is all that is required in law. The law never required you to come from an ethnic community that pleases those who think that it is on the basis of your ethnicity that people should be given jobs. Honorable Speaker, I want to say, Mr. Erastus Ethekon, wherever he comes from, whether he comes from Nyeri or from Turkana, he is a Kenyan. And it was rather unfortunate to hear the former deputy president, the impeached deputy president, and disgraced former deputy president, assert that Mr. Ethekon does not warrant to be nominated for this position on account of the community he comes from. I heard another one, Honorable Speaker, Martha Karua, saying that this Ethekon comes from some bush somewhere. Turkana is not a bush. It is part and parcel of our republic. And we must respect people not on the basis of where they come from, but on the basis of what the content of their heads. And I am sure this lawyer is a better lawyer than Martha Karua. By far, I am certain. He's a much better lawyer. Honorable Speaker, this county of Turkana has produced a very well-schooled individual, Honorable Speaker. And I speak about Ethekon because I heard him being attacked by these disgruntled political faces on account not on his qualifications, not on his ability or capacity to lead this commission, but largely on the basis of where he comes from. And it's rather sad that people who purport to have held national offices can demonize a whole community on the basis, or a person on the basis of the community they comes from. And I want to say this, Erastus, looking at his CV, just like the CVs of all these other nominees, are people who qualify to serve the Republic of Kenya as commissioners of an independent electoral and boundaries commission, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, we are rather late in establishing this commission, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, to speak to those out there who are looking at these people on the basis of their ethnicities, on the basis of the villages they come from, let me tell them, you will never win an election on the basis of who is presiding over that election. You win elections based on what agenda you take to the people. If you take an agenda of
Honorable
ethnicity...
Joseph Ematha, you have already spoken on this. What is irritating you? Yes, what's your point of order?
Point of, Honorable Speaker, I beg if you will allow, and even to guide on this, that that thing has not been able to be responded well in my community. And we have the Committee on Cohesion. We also have a commission on the same. And Honorable Speaker, if that could be picked, if that could be picked as a country, because that is
Honorable Mother, I gave you an opportunity to speak. You didn't even mention that. Take your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I reminded the Honorable Member what was said of this great man from the lakeside of Turkana. And he's a great leader. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, you never win an election based on who is presiding over that election. If you want to win an election, take your agenda to the people of Kenya. Speak to the people of Kenya. You will never win an election based on hatred. You will never win an election because you are showing bitterness to everybody or belittling people from certain communities because you think the village you come from is more important than other villages in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. We all come from certain villages, and they are as important as your small village, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this commission, as I said, we are 3 years late. And the sooner we approve, the sooner the president appoints, and the sooner this commission begins working, the better for this country, Honorable Speaker. Because there are people who are suffering in this country, lacking representation, Honorable Speaker. The people of Banisa, may I not remind you, Honorable Speaker, have sued you. Yes. Not anybody else, you as a Speaker of the National Assembly, because they lack representation in this House. And so are the other constituencies, Honorable Speaker, the people of Magarini, the people now of Kasipul, Kabondo, and many wards across the country where people are lacking representation simply because we do not have an IEBC. In fact, Honorable Speaker, any leader, whether in this House or outside there, who is not in support of this motion and the establishment of a new IEBC is an enemy to this republic, is an enemy to the people of Kenya. That is someone who does not wish this country well. And may I dare say, Honorable Speaker, even any person in the judiciary who would imagine that they would come into the way of stopping us from having an IEBC, you would not be acting in the best interest of the Republic and the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, may I also take this opportunity, Speaker, to plead with our judges and the judiciary, Honorable Speaker, to take what they call, or what you lawyers call, judicial notice of the circumstances that we are in as a country. We have the elections pending. We have electoral delimitation to be done ahead of the elections. May I also remind us, ourselves, Honorable Speaker, the Kriegler Commission told us that at least 2 years before every election, we should have a commission ready. Honorable Speaker, we are slightly above that 2-year threshold. It is time we have a commission so that if there's the limitation that they will do, they're able to do that. If they have to register new voters, they need time to register new voters. They need to remove those who are deceased from the register of voters. And they need to clean up the register of voters in good time so that when we defeat these hate mongers in the next elections, Honorable Speaker, they will have no excuse. Those who have a premonition that 2027, Honorable Speaker, as was said here in the adjournment motion by the leader of minority, those who imagined, Honorable Speaker,
point
that
of
would...
order from Chepkonga. What's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, I was just listening very carefully to the majority leader, and I don't intend to interrupt him because he's saying very palatable things, Mr. Speaker. It is not impalatable. You know, he's saying very good things. The only thing that he has just said is that these nominees must be approved as soon as possible. And I thought Standing Order 97 allows us to approve as soon as possible. Would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to request you to call the mover to reply so that we approve as soon as possible?
Honorable
Mr. Speaker, you had said 4:30.
I had already said at what time I'll call the mover to reply. Yes. Yes. So wind up.
I think, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chepkonga was simply prompting me to close this so that we can approve these names as soon as possible, as he says, Honorable Speaker. And now I've even lost what I was saying. But Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that we need this commission as early or as soon as we can, Honorable Speaker, to allow this commission to get down to work. Honorable Speaker, in closing, I was saying, in 2 years' time, we'll have a general election because that is time-bound, and we must have a general election. And therefore, we must work within the timeline that is given to ensure that the commission that we establish or the commission that we put in place has adequate time to put all the measures necessary to ensure that we have an election in 2027 that will be beyond reproach, so that we shame the hate mongers, the war mongers who have been threatening us that 2027 there will be more bloodshed than 2007, Honorable Speaker. Those war mongers, those bloodthirsty leaders, Honorable Speaker, or so-called leaders who do not deserve to be leaders, if they can imagine that the 2007 post-election violence was a Christmas party, Honorable Speaker, we must shame them today by approving these names, having a commission in place, and having credible elections in 2027. And I am certain we will beat them on the basis of an agenda that is pro-people, an agenda that is transforming lives across the country. As they move around the country spreading hatred, inciting Kenyans, showing a lot of bitterness, and imagining that Kenya will go into the abyss because of their anger and hatred for other Kenyans. With that, I beg to support, Honorable Speaker.
Members, I had said I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. It's now 4:32. Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you very
Members, you are all saying the same thing.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Those who have not spoken, those who have spoken for all of you.
Thank you
Go
very
on,
much,
Murugara.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join you actually in acknowledging all the members who have spoken and thanking them for their very valuable contributions. I know many of them would have also loved to say something about either all the nominated commissioners or a few of them. Honorable Farah was actually raring to say something, but we have spoken for him. My vice chair here, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, was gearing to actually do a valuable contribution, and everybody else. Thank you so much for this. To the IEBC commissioners, we will approve your nominations this afternoon. But Kenyans are watching, and they are saying, if you do not have the spine to conduct elections, start growing one now. Because we have to have a fair, just, credible, verifiable election, which every Kenyan is going to be satisfied with. And those of us who may differ with those who are supporting, please do not make any threats to the country. We have our constitution, we have our laws, and we have institutions which we must have faith in. I know for sure there are trust issues with IEBC. It is the high time these 7 commissioners now grew the trust so that Kenyans can believe in this institution, which is very important for the country, known as the IEBC. Thank you so much. With those remarks, I beg to reply.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment. Order. Murugara. Order. Let me put the question once more. Which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, chairperson. 2. Ann Nderitu Njeri, member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Aduol, member. 7. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, BBNJ agreement.
Bowen, before you move, allow me to acknowledge in the speaker's gallery Annesense Boys High School from Ainabukoi was in Gishu. On behalf of myself and the House and the member for Ainabukoi, you want to 1 minute only because we are interrupting the moving of a motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your very kind and generous generosity in allowing me to recognize, on behalf of the House, the students from Anderson's High School in Ainabkwe constituency. This is a boys' school, Mr. Speaker, which has very many students. It is the biggest boys' school in Ainabkwe constituency. Mr. Speaker, when I see these students, it reminds me what the late president of South Africa said. He said that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change your world. Their visit to this house will indeed change their world. What they have seen, it's an educational tour, and what they have seen, Mr. Speaker, will change their world. I want to encourage them to continue to study and to excel in their exams. I wish them well when they sit for the exams. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I join you in welcoming the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House approves the report of Departmental Committee of Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation and its consideration on the agreement under the United Nations Convention on the laws of the sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, that is a PB&J agreement. Honorable Speaker, the PB&J agreement was tabled in the National Assembly on Tuesday, 29 April 2025, and subsequently referred to the committee pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 170A. The committee was mandated, Honorable Speaker, to facilitate the public participation and make an appropriate recommendations on whether the House should approve with reservation or reject the ratification of the agreement. Mr. Speaker, the agreement provides a comprehensive framework to address the critical gaps in the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in areas beyond the national jurisdiction. The agreement was adopted in 19 June 2023 in New York, USA, by Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity of Areas Beyond the National Jurisdiction under the auspice of the United Nations General Assembly. And it addresses quite a number of issues. Honorable Speaker, some of those areas addressed by this treaty is marine genetic resources, including a fair and equitable benefit sharing, the area-based management tools, which are used by the Marines and those who are doing business in marine, the environmental impact assessment. This is, Honorable Speaker, those who are doing marine business, either exploration or even fishing, before they conduct on a serious industrial in our waters, they must conduct an environmental impact assessment, capacity building, and transfer of marine technology. Madam Speaker, Article 26 of our Constitution, read together with the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, 4D, provides the legal foundation for incorporating international treaties into a domestic law. The National Assembly plays a critical oversight role in ratification and ensuring conformity with the constitutional values and public interest. Further, to Article 25, Honorable Speaker, of the Constitution stipulates that the general rules of international law shall form part of the laws of Kenya. Article 26 provides that any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya shall become part of Kenyan laws under this Constitution. And that is why we are bringing this treaty, Honorable Speaker, before this House this afternoon. Madam Speaker, the Treaty Making Ratification Act, 4D, operationalizes Article 26 of our Constitution and defines a treaty as any international agreement concluded between states and governed by international law, whether single instrument or a multiple related instruments. In this regard, it is only upon ratification by the National Assembly that the treaties and the conventions becomes part of our laws. Madam Speaker, the committee placed an advert in 2 national newspapers on Monday, 6th May 2025, inviting for a public memoranda in compliance with Article 118, Sub-Article 1B of our Constitution and subsection A3 of the Treaty Making Ratification Act under our own standing orders under number 170A. While no memoranda was received, Honorable Speaker, by deadline, the committee convened a stakeholders consultation meeting on Thursday, 29 May 2025 at Radisson Blue Hotel with representatives from the State Department of Blue Economy and Fisheries, from Attorney General Office, the State Department of Foreign Affairs, Kenya International Boundaries Office, and International Union for Conservation of Nature, Africa. And Madam Speaker, after consultation, the committee made several observations. Number one, the BPNJ agreement is open for signature by all states and regional economic integration organization from 20th September 2023 to 20th September 2025. And it will enter into force after 120 days from the date, Honorable Speaker. Upon ratification, Madam Speaker, the Kenya will need to align its laws, the regulations, and administrative procedures with the agreement. This includes reviewing the legislation on environmental protection, ocean governance, and biodiversity. Kenya will be eligible to submit proposals for areas-based management tools, ABMTs, including the marine protected areas, subject to scientific review and the stakeholder consultation. The agreement is consistent, Madam Speaker. I want to confirm that this agreement is consistent with the Constitution and promoting the environmental conservation as outlined under Articles 60, Sub-Article 1E of our Constitution and 69, Sub-Article 1A, E, F, G, and H, Madam Speaker. The Kenya may be required to contribute financially to institutions established under the agreement, including the Secretariat. However, the country stands to benefit from the targeted support for developing countries through the capacity building, technology transfer, and technical assistance. The ratification will improve the ocean health, strengthen institutions, build capacity, and help meet sustainable development goals, and position Kenya as a regional leader in BBNJ and blue economy matters. The provision is focused on ecological connectivity and regulation of fishing in ABNJ will protect the African coastal waters from overfishing by foreign fleets or foreign ships. Madam Speaker, Part 4 of the treaty establishes a detailed process of how the environmental impact analysis is going to be done, and it's applicable to activities in ABNJ, that's in the auctions, those within the national jurisdictions with significant environmental risks in ABNJ. And Part 4 extends to the digital sequence, that's information, recognizing their commercial value. This is just for technology transfer, Madam Speaker. While the access and the benefit sharing committee is established with the defined terms, the institution architecture includes the secretariat seat, the membership, and the tenure. Remains still part of this treaty, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Kenya should advocate for hosting opportunities, representation, and employment within the institutions established under the agreement to ensure equitable benefits for developing nations. There is need for evidence-based research in a treaty ratification process to optimize a national benefits as envisaged under CAF 4D. The agreement provides that no reservations or exceptions may become made of the agreement, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having deliberated and conducted a public participation in line with the Constitution, the Treaty Making Ratification Act and our standing orders recommends the following. One, that pursuant to Articles 10, Sub-Article 1, Article 70 and 71 of our Constitution, that the agreement shall not apply to utilization of marine genetic resources and digital sequence information collected or genetic before an agreement entry into force for Kenya. Number two, that the agreement shall not undermine existing international treaties, agreements or framework to which Kenya is party, including but not limited to United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea and the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. That the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy and Fisheries and other relevant ministries and state agencies to submit a quarterly updates to the committee on, one, the implementation of the agreement, number two, the financial and non-financial benefits, and number three, the capacity building activities derived from the agreement. Honorable Speaker, that is what this treaty is all about, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at the coastal regions, we have what is called the coastal lines. In Kenya, we have about 200 nautical miles, which is our boundary. But beyond that, Madam Speaker, is what we are calling beyond the national jurisdiction. And this treaty basically is was crafted or was developed to make sure that the areas which is beyond jurisdiction, if there is someone who wants to utilize that around that area, at least there is procedures, there are rules on how the resources which you get from there are going to benefit the member states. It also provides some regulations. If you have to get into that area which is beyond the jurisdiction, and you want to do some mining, Honorable Speaker, you have to carry out some environmental impact analysis, because by so doing, at least you must be approved that what you are going to do is not going to harm the marine life. And then the other thing, Honorable Speaker, is that these treaties, if we sign as a country, there is a lot of benefits. We are going to benefit from a technology transfer, because there are some other member states which are more advanced on issues of marine, the US, the UK. So for us, which we don't have that kind of a technology, Honorable Speaker, being a member of this treaty, we are going to benefit in that technology transfer. So, Madam Speaker, I think as a country we stand to benefit if we adopted this treaty, and I want to ask all my colleagues that we approve this treaty to be part of our laws, and we are going to benefit from our natural resources, especially in the marine areas. Madam Speaker, I want to move and ask the member, my honorable member of the committee, the member for Matuka, Engineer Kasim Sawa Tandasa, to second.
Give him the mic. Maybe you might have to move to another. Okay, there you are, Robert Tandaza.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as the chairman has clearly stated, this is a treaty whereby if we assent through this House by passing this motion, the country is bound to benefit immensely. If I'm to stand along the shores of the Indian Ocean in my constituency at Zote Beach or Diani Beach, which most of us know, and we face east, we will be looking at 12 nautical miles, which are supposed to be territorial part of Kenya, 12 nautical miles. Beyond the 12 nautical miles, we are having 200 nautical miles, which is part of Kenya in terms of exclusive economic zone. The 12 miles is territorial. It's part of the country Kenya. The remaining 200 miles is for purposes of economic and exclusive again to Kenya. This is an area where we can license other countries if they are to do any economic activities within the 200 nautical miles. But this agreement is this treaty is looking at beyond the 200 nautical miles, commonly referred to the high seas, or now the area beyond the national jurisdiction, whereby each country or any nation can exploit that area without referring to Kenya, though it's part of the Indian Ocean. With the level of development that we have, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, we are not able actually to monitor that area. As it stands, we are not even able to monitor effectively the EEZ, the 200 miles. And out of this treaty, it's the only way we're going to get an opportunity to actually know what is happening at the high seas, that is the area beyond the national jurisdiction. And since we don't have the economic power, we don't have the technology, it is only by us assenting to this treaty that we'll be able to actually benefit by the knowledge that is will be being harvested there, the natural resources that will be being harvested there. And since the oceans are for prosperity, even when the time comes that now we can also exploit that area, then we will be able actually to know how much fish, how much biodiversity there is in that area, and therefore benefit. Honorable members, without deliberating so much, now that we have a whole ministry of blue economy, this is the right time for us to ratify this treaty so that the country can benefit. There will even be a fund through this treaty whereby as a country will be able to actually apply and tap into once we are signatories to this treaty. With those few remarks, I second.
Honorable members, it's been exciting listening to this because my degree was in maritime law and I studied law of the sea. One of the subjects was memorizing the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. So it's wonderful to see that's been expanded after so many years of having it been signed in the first place. So with that, honorable members, it's my pleasure to propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of the agreement under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction, BBN, agreement laid in the table of this House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act of 2012, approves the ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, BBN agreement. Okay. Members who want to contribute, just press the intervention button. Honorable Peter Kaluma, I know we were running the Law of the Sea program together.
Speaker, thank you very much. The many things you taught me at the University of Nairobi was public international law, more so the law of the sea. And so, Honorable Speaker, I understand the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which you taught us was ratified in 1982. Honorable members, the sea territories are delimited in a particular way. 20 nautical miles from the shoreline is the territorial sea. And that part of the sea called the territorial sea is treated as part of the state from which the sea moves. After that, Honorable Speaker, 24 nautical miles from the territorial sea is the contiguous zone. It is called the contiguous zone because it is a zone where if there were war, it is a place to which again a territorial state is entitled for purposes of its exclusive war engagements. Honorable Speaker, 200 nautical miles from the shoreline of a territorial state into the sea is the exclusive economic zone. And that exclusive economic zone, Honorable Speaker, will mean that for purposes of economic exploitation, and I'm emphasizing this, Honorable Speaker, because we came from the Blue Economy Madaraka Day celebration. And then you get people largely talking about fish and fish stock. The exclusive economic zone is the entitlement of a territorial state bordering a sea for purposes of exclusive economic exploitation. So whether it is fish stock, whether it is marine life, whether it is minerals prospected and discovered under those waters, they exclusively belong to the state. I'm emphasizing that to make the point, Honorable Speaker, that when you go deep into 200 nautical miles, I can tell you if you put that water area together, it means nearly a third of the territorial boundary of Kenya is within the sea for purposes of exclusive economic zone. Honorable Speaker, under the exclusive economic zone is the continental shelf. The continental shelf entitlement of a territorial state also goes up to 200 nautical miles, but with the agreement of the world bodies, it can be extended up to 350 nautical miles. And let me confirm to the House that for purposes of the continental shelf, we've gotten the permission of the relevant committee and international body, and now we stretch up to 350 nautical miles. That means anything falling within the continental shelf from across the Indian Ocean can be exploited again exclusively by Kenya following the agreement of the international community up to that level. Honorable Speaker, beyond the exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf is the high seas. And Honorable Speaker, you know, that is the area that we say is res communis. It falls within the right of the entire global community. And that is the area, Honorable Speaker, this treaty we are seeking to ratify is concerned about. There have been cases, Honorable Speaker, where highly industrialized nations, you go to China, you go to Japan, you go to those countries which manufacture or own big ships, they are trawling in these res communis, the IC areas, or those areas not falling within the exclusive jurisdiction of the territorial state. And what has been happening, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go trawling, you are searching for a specific, for instance, fish species, but you catch everything the nets will go with. And essentially, what you don't need, you just throw them away. So out of those practices, we are killing a lot of marine life, and then there is need, that area being a res communis, to be protected by this convention whose ratification, our agreement as Parliament, is needed for. I wanted to end, because of time, Honorable Speaker, by emphasizing the point that if you look at states like Kenya, Honorable Speaker, even going up to 50 nautical miles is still a problem because of the sizes of the ships we have and the level of technologies. We need to up our ability as a nation by investing in proper ships at our navies and at other levels so that we can protect marine life within those areas. But the areas beyond our territorial water boundaries are areas which we must protect under agreements such as this, which can, restrict these states with the power from finishing the marine life, from ensuring that we have waters which are sustainably used for people today, available for our children tomorrow, and available for our children's children in the future. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much, and I request the approval of my colleagues for this convention, whose being here confirms, Honorable Speaker, that indeed nothing can have the force of law in this country unless it is a provision coming from this house. So may we signify our approval so that this convention is ratified, it becomes part of our law, and the protection of those areas falling under the remit of rest communities is guaranteed under this agreement. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Ali Hassan Joho, the CS for Blue Economy, for bringing this agreement before this House. Mr. Speaker, the BBJN agreement is an agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of the Parliamentarians for Global Action, or PGA, where I have served as executive in the Executive Council, and now currently a member of the Council, and also the current chair of the Kenyan chapter. And Mr. Speaker, we have worked very, very strongly around this convention and on the issues of conservation of the oceans and the high seas in general. And therefore, the bringing of this convention to be ratified by the House is very welcome. Mr. Speaker, the agreement addresses 4 main issues. It addresses the marine genetic resources, including the fair and equitable sharing of benefits in the areas that Honorable Kaluma calls the rest communes. Mr. Speaker, because of the limited resources, there's always been a perception that the resources in the waters are limitless or infinite. But time has shown that they actually can be misused and can be exhausted, and therefore it's very important that not only that they should be conserved, but that there is equitable sharing, because there has been an imbalance sharing with developed countries having more advantage than the developing countries. Yet we know that if indeed there is a place that still has a lot of resources, it's the high oceans, the high seas. Mr. Speaker, it also talks about measures such as area-based management tools, including marine protected areas, and especially again for ensuring that we conserve and expand what we already have there. Mr. Speaker, it talks about environmental impact assessments and capacity building and the transfer of marine technology that the mover mentioned when he was talking about. It also talks about cross-cutting issues, such as establishing a funding mechanism and setting up institutional arrangement, including the conference of parties and various subsidiary bodies, a clearinghouse, and a secretariat. Mr. Speaker, it indeed is a very good convention, and I do support. Mr. Speaker, however, I'm concerned about one thing, that if you look at this convention and a lot of the things that are coming here, the focus is very strongly on the high seas and the oceans. And sometimes we forget our internal waters. And one, I think it's when the mover was commenting, or the person who was seconding, that commented that it is important that we domesticate, once we ratify, that we domesticate by providing laws that will be speaking to the same issues as what is contained here. Mr. Speaker, I would want to encourage the committee that when they'll be looking at those laws, nothing stops them from expanding into our internal waters and specifically into Lake Victoria. Mr. Speaker, yesterday as a Committee on Defense, we were looking, we had an engagement with an agency that works with our international boundaries, and they were talking about boundary demarcations. But if you actually look at a lot of the conflicts that happen in our internal, whether internal waters or the high seas, the conflicts with other nations is generally about resources. And 2 of our islands were mentioned, Remba and Ringiti. And Remba and Ringiti were mentioned because they are actually very critical islands in terms of demarcating our boundaries. But Mr. Speaker, those are some of the islands that always have a lot of conflicts with the Tanzania and Uganda on fisheries. And Mr. Speaker, it is not a conflict because of political issues. It's a conflict on fishing. It's a conflict on resources. And therefore, if you are able to replicate in our internal waters a convention that is similar to this one, or even bring, there's nothing stopping us, even amending the Fisheries Act, to bring something of this sort. The only reason why the Act would be limiting, it's because the Act will only talk to Kenya. But if we provide a treaty, then it will actually deal with our neighbors as well. So I would want to encourage the committee to look at this. And Mr. Speaker, even as I complete, Honorable Kaluma and the speaker before you were really boasting how they have done international law and dealt with ICs. I can also boast that me and Honorable Karoli here were students of environmental law at our master's level, and we studied environmental law at a master's level. But do I say, Mr. Speaker, and I'm surprised that Honorable Karoli is not keen, not keen on speaking. But we are students of environmental law.
What's your point of order, Honorable Kaluma? Yeah. What's out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I didn't just study public international law. I'm the first lawyer in this country to specialize in law of the sea. In fact, I assisted our Navy in delimiting our sea boundaries when Abu Rafruf was still the Navy commandant. So Honorable Mili should confine herself to environmental issues within the sea areas.
What's your point
not
of order?
talking, not knowing I'm a specialist in that area.
What's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member for Homa Bay is actually misleading the House. Yes. The premier mind on law of the sea was the late Akicho Kola, Deputy Solicitor General, who attended all the negotiations until the law of the sea was signed in 1982.
Yes.
It is Akicho Kola. And the one speaking is the author of the National Environmental Management and Coordination Act. So stop misleading the House.
The Honorable Kaluma.
Information. Honorable Speaker, Okola participated in coming up with the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. But at the very heart of that convention was Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede from Kwabuaen, the Homa Bay. And that is something for which he is credited. And Dr. Androniko Oduogo Adede was my master's lecturer when I was studying Law of the Sea. I think that is a point Honorable Karoli was forgetting.
Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. Mr. Speaker, I have the floor. And I want to educate Honorable Kaluma and tell him that there's a reason that I'm a senior lawyer. The Honorable Dr. Andriko Dede that is so proudly talking about was my boss in Letwal International. So don't even try.
Yes.
We've been there, done that, and got a t-shirt. So don't even try.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader. Give the mic to the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to inform the House that the Honorable Kaluma is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Mili Odhiambo is from Homa Bay County. The Honorable Karoli Omondi is from Homa Bay County. And you can hear the debate is about the law of the sea, environmental law, and the battle of wits of great men and women, great scholars from the county of Homa Bay. And Honorable Speaker, you know, we were in Homa Bay over the weekend, and the people of Homa Bay are a great people. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, let me also assert that the Honorable Mili Mabona Odhiambo, being a law student and having studied environmental law, part of what this treaty seeks to look at are issues touching on environment in the sea. Therefore, the law of the sea, the law of the environment merge and converge. Whether they converge in Homa Bay or in the National Assembly, it's converging and we all move together, happy.
Honorable KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I was of a different opinion, Mr. Speaker. On an afternoon when we have very serious business to transact, I wanted you to find this debate totally out of order, because the display here is a display of something that is well known to this country. The tyranny of brains, the tyranny of Akili from Nyanza. And it has been displayed fully. We do not need to belabor the point. We know we have some fine brains from that area in the House. And we also know that there are and fog bearers who are also...
Order. the chair assumes that some of those brilliant state of the current intellectual dissipation can also, basically permeate to the members, the overall house here, so that you, whatever you want to call it, I remember they used to say through osmosis or whatever it is, whatever it is, but order, Honorable KJ. Are you going to get your time to conclude? So this is it's well accepted. We are learning. We are learning a lot from these fine minds from Homa Bay. So proceed, Honorable Miro Odhiambo. I also did public international law. I did law of the sea, but nowhere near where the specialization.
Then we can allow you to stay
Proceed.
in our circles.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, before I conclude, I just wanted to say that I'm also currently doing my PhD in Daystar University.
Excellent.
And I am dealing with the issue of development, leadership, and on the issue of leadership and governance. And one of the things that I'm debating about, studying about, is whether there's something unique about Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, the late General Ogola he came from Sia, but grew up in Homa Bay. CS Education, the current CS of Education, same primary school with me, Homa Bay Primary. PS Omolo, Homa Bay. Tomboya, Homa Bay. I can go on and on, but do I say? We are serious. I can see the chairman budget now is trying to purport to have a girlfriend from Homa Bay, especially Homa Bay town. And I know Honorable Kaluma can now be proud as the member of parliament for Homa Bay because we are serious. But that aside, Mr. Speaker, what I was actually saying is that it is true, just as even Honorable Ichungwa said, because we are dealing with the high seas. But we sometimes forget the inland waters. The inland waters that has produced these great men and women like myself. And because we are told when you're growing up, you're told if you eat fish, you become completely brilliant. And I would want to encourage the committee, the relevant committee, to look, whether it is through the amendment of the Fisheries Act, which I don't think is very appropriate, but it's towards moving a more bilateral agreement between Uganda and Tanzania. And the agency we met yesterday has already agreed that they'll be willing to work with us because theirs is limited to boundaries. But we want to look at the issue of shared resources. The same that we are having for the high seas, we need to have for inland waters, so that we don't have our fishermen taken to Uganda, forced to eat raw fish with all our intelligence, and also forced to pay fines because they are fighting over the resources in Lake Victoria. Otherwise, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Yes, the honorable member for Ndiwa, indeed Ndiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The learned friends have talked about the anatomy and physiology of the sea and the boundaries. But I just want to say that in a global village, some households are bigger than others. And what this treaty is trying to do to us is to bring order to the global village. You can't do business if there is no legal framework that protects the little and guides the greatest. There is also an issue of capacity building here, transfer of knowledge and technologies. I think we will benefit as a country from this. Together we can address challenges. There's a lot of challenges when you come to the sea, especially those who have high technologies, big machines, and scoop everything. If uncontrolled, it has been said here, they will take all our resources and we can't do anything. Sensitivity to environment has been well spoken about. And of course, we have a share on this. And this treaty will bring everybody to order so that we can protect our environment. But who would like to be exploited? And who would like to get into conflicts with big powers? And then lastly, Mr. Speaker, which is very vital, in this treaty is the tapping into funds that can also help us as a small nation. So in all, I support the treaty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the approval for ratification of this agreement on the biological diversity of areas beyond our national jurisdiction. Honorable Speaker, as the mover said, this agreement was adopted in June of 2023 in New York. And so far, Honorable Speaker, from what the mover has said, a total of 100 and almost 123 countries have signed this agreement, and about 26 have ratified this agreement, Honorable Speaker. And we should not be late, Honorable Speaker, because as has been said by the mover, and as was noted by the committee, we, as a country, stand to benefit a lot. As much as, Honorable Speaker, as with the signing of this treaty and its ratification, we also be bound to pay certain fees, especially towards running of the Secretariat, but we also stand to benefit in terms of, Honorable Speaker, the things that we will get as a country that come to nations that border the seas and among developing countries, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this agreement, as the mover has said, has a compendium of issues that include, as I said when the Honorable Millie was speaking, environmental impact assessments. And that's what I was saying, there was also a lot of environmental law in it. It also includes marine genetic resources, including fair and equitable benefit sharing. And Honorable Speaker, as the mover and the chair of the committee had said, this agreement covers the area that is beyond the 200 nautical miles from our coastline between countries that share the seas or the ocean. And there is that area which would be naturally be constituted as no man's land. And if there is no treaty or agreement that governs that area that is beyond our national boundaries, Honorable Speaker, or beyond the 200 nautical miles, then that space is bound to be abused by many people. Honorable Speaker, in order to ensure that if there are any benefits, whether it's minerals, whether it's fishing, that is being done along those areas, then the countries that border those areas benefit and share the benefits of the whatever resources, that marine resources that be in that area, equitably and fairly. And that is what this treaty seeks to establish, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, upon ratification again, Honorable Speaker, we actually need to align all our laws, Honorable Speaker, our regulations and administrative procedures to be in line with this agreement. And I want that to be a challenge to our committee on blue economy and also our JLAC and JLAC committees, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that upon ratification by Kenya of this agreement, we have aligned all our laws, regulations, and other administrative procedures in line with this agreement. And that includes legislation on environmental protection, ocean governance, and biodiversity in the sea, Honorable Speaker, because as we said, it is also possible for anyone to argue that beyond the 200 nautical miles, since it's no man's land, people can come from anywhere and come and dump things that will pollute the sea and therefore pollute our environment. And therefore we must also accordingly align our laws to ensure that our laws cover even those areas. Of course, in close concurrence with our neighbors whom we share the seas and other boundaries with, Honorable Speaker. And in those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support. Honorable Speaker, a lot has been said about this bill. I do not want to say the obvious. I'm sure somebody else will say it, because I know the member for Alego Usonga can see him moving in his seat because he is very eager to move the budget estimates report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support.
Yes, what's your point of order? What's your point of order?
One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thought I'm the one with the mic.
You were on a point of order?
Yes.
And this is to conclude the debate? Can I allow the Honorable Russell just to take 1 minute and say something?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll take less than 2 minutes to contribute to this very important debate. I think this particular agreement is profound. This is about addressing the EEZ that stretches 250 nautical miles outside our territorial waters. The future of resources on Earth will actually be in the seas, or in the high seas for that matter. It is not just about an agreement. I think it is about how we are likely to exploit marine resources, not by using just our resources, but using resources of partners. There'll be exploitation of minerals, such as oils, such as whatever will be found in the deep sea, which will be highly beneficial to Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this is also about the freedom of the sea, that major world operators of ships and also of major navies are likely to use our EEZ. Then they are likely to cooperate with us to be able to do that. There must also be cooperation in the Indian Ocean Rim, where we occupy a sizable part of the East African or the Horn of Africa coastline. Finally, Honorable Speaker, they say that the next frontier of conflict will be in the sea, because every nation, many having exploited to the full extent what is on land, they'll be moving to the high seas. So for that reason, this particular agreement is very important, and Kenya must really be prepared in terms of resources, in terms of military power, to be able to protect what rightfully belongs to this country. With those remarks, I support. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, considering that the blue economy is also in the budget, and I know those who would want to contribute on the same can still contribute on the blue economy, which is still part of the budget, would I be in order to call that the MUFA be asked called to reply, and we'll continue the debate, because the blue economy is there, the sea, and it's part of the budget, so we can proceed with it after the MUFA of the budget and appropriation, my chair.
Honorable members, I now call upon the mover to reply. As many of the appearance say aye. Aye. As many of contrary appearance say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank all the colleagues who contributed to this motion for the ratification of BBNJ agreement. And Mr. Speaker, I want to take note of what the Honorable Millie said about there is need, as we ratify also treaties, international treaties, there is need to have even our own, say, East Africa treaties on fisheries, so that the shared resource like we have of Lake Victoria, Honorable Speaker, because of what is happening, we have seen many of our fishermen being arrested on the Ugandan side, and there is some issues around Migingo. If we can have even an agreement between Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and all those who are using Lake Victoria waters, I think it is something us as a committee, Honorable Speaker, we are going to take it up to, with the State Department. Mr. Speaker, so I don't want to repeat myself. I reply. Thank you.
Next order. You have to put the question.
Order number 12, motion, consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2025-2026, general debate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026 laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. 1. Approves the issuance of a sum of 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2. Makes the policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And 3. Orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240. Consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Honorable Speaker, I would like to, first of all, as I move, begin by thanking members of Budget and Appropriations Committee for their diligence in processing the estimates that were brought before us. Honorable Speaker, budget making is the sole mandate of this House, and all members of this House participate in budget making through their departmental committees. Honorable Speaker, in the reviewing of these estimates, we listen to departmental committees represented by their chairmen. And I also want to thank them, Honorable Speaker, because departmental committees brought to us very, very progressive highlights of the programs that the government is implementing in various departments. Honorable Speaker, in the course of processing the estimates, we were able to listen to proposals from the departmental committee, some proposing changes, some staying the changes. Honorable Speaker, it is not in the DNA of Budget Committee to refuse to adopt changes brought by members of this House through their committees. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that as we are processing the estimates, there are some changes that the committee did not allow, but 99% of the changes were allowed. Some of the proposals that were not allowed by the committee involve reallocations of funds meant for fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker. And, Honorable Speaker, as one of the cornerstones of this country, Honorable Speaker, agriculture remains one of the anchors of our economy. And even as I will talk later about some of the programs that have been funded, we did not believe that reallocating resources from the fertilizer subsidy was necessary. The other area that my committee did not adopt had to do with the reallocations touching on coffee cherry fund. Honorable Speaker, coffee is becoming one of the most strategic cash crops of our country, leading in foreign exchange, and also incomes to farmers is substantial. As a matter of fact, as I will be discussing some of the strategic allocations, you will notice that in one of the allocations, coffee development is one of the areas that we are putting more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I go to the content of the report, I would like to say that and thank National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, for the first time, we have revenue projections of National Treasury that is less than what has been projected by our own Parliamentary Budget Office. Honorable Speaker, Parliamentary Budget Office, our own, is a premier think tank. Actually, in this region, our Parliamentary Budget Office is leading Parliamentary Budget Office. In fact, in this region, regional parliaments are coming to us for benchmarking within that space. And our Budget Office has been leading in helping the regional parliaments to develop some of their ways of running budgets. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank our Parliamentary Budget Office and National Treasury, because for the first time we are aligning our thinking. The thinking within Parliamentary Budget Office is that higher revenue projections has not been tenable. Even as we talk, Honorable Speaker, we are not being able to meet our revenue projections because we over-project. But for the first time, Honorable Speaker, the revenue projections given to us by Treasury is less than what our own PBU has projected. It means, therefore, Honorable Speaker, that we are making a more realistic budget because revenue collection projected is what will determine what kind of programs you want to implement. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the CS Treasury, the new CS Treasury, because he's giving us a budget that is more realistic. Also, Honorable Speaker, that we are seeking to live within the confines of our means, that going forward, public debt is not going to be a solution for our problems. In the past, Honorable Speaker, we have been running very huge budgets and not factoring the fact that we have limited revenue sources. We end up running a very huge fiscal deficit. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal deficit that we are applying is 4.5% to GDP. Remember, Honorable Speaker, that when we did supplementary 2 here, our fiscal deficit was 5.2. So we have moved downwards by over 0.7 basis points. So, Honorable Speaker, this shows that for the first time, the reality of broad-based government, which is more inclusive, approaching development in a more inclusive way, is becoming a reality. Honorable Speaker, as I move into some of the strategic areas where we have been able to put more resources. Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier, agriculture remains the most important cornerstone for this economy. And in these estimates, Honorable Speaker, we have continued as usual to appropriate resources for fertilizer subsidy. Fertilizer subsidy is the reason, Honorable Speaker, that we have been able to increase food production in the country. As we talk, Honorable Speaker, we have been able to produce more food, and that is the reason why the cost of living has come down and even inflation has been managed. So, Honorable Speaker, this budget appropriates 8 billion shillings for fertilizer subsidy. Honorable Speaker, you have recently seen the reforms that have been initiated in the sugar sector. To support those reforms, Honorable Speaker, this budget allocates 2 billion to support those reforms so that the sugar sector becomes profitable. For a long time, the sugar sector has been a loss-making endeavor where farmers deliver their cane to the millers, and in the end, it is the government that ends up paying those farmers. Honorable Speaker, those reforms that have been initiated are being funded to the tune of 2 billion so that that sector becomes self-reliant. Honorable Speaker, I mentioned about coffee sheriff fund. Coffee has become a strategic cash crop. In fact, Honorable Speaker, when we went round to engage in public participation, in the area of Nyanza, in the area of Rift Valley, in the area of Western, most farmers are abandoning their traditional cash crops and they want to move into coffee sector. As I said, the coffee sector is giving more returns, and also as a foreign exchange earner. Foreign exchange, Honorable Speaker, is going to be very, very important for our economy going forward. And therefore, most farmers are moving into coffee. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, Coffee Sheriff Fund is an investment which this Parliament has done in the past. It is in the wisdom of this Parliament again that we continue to fund Coffee Sheriff Fund, and we have allocated 2 billion shillings towards that. Honorable Speaker, I also mentioned that most farmers in those regions are trying to move away from other cash crops. They are engaging in what the budget report calls crop diversification. So in order to achieve that, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 2 billion shillings to help those farmers in those regions, farmers who want to move away from their traditional cash crops like maize, they want to go into coffee. We want to give them support so that they can be able to fully engage and support. Honorable Speaker, we need about 2.7 metric tons of coffee for export and for this market. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge more farmers to go into coffee farming. Honorable Speaker, livestock insurance is also a very important sector that we believe we need to fund substantially, and in this budget we have allocated 2 billion shillings for livestock insurance. Honorable Speaker, on the area of education, capitation still remains one of the biggest items in this budget. And this budget has allocated 90 billion shillings for school capitation, for JSS, for secondary education, and for primary education. Honorable Speaker, you heard about the uproar that Treasury did not allocate resources for examination. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, you have allocated 5.9 billion for examinations. Honorable Speaker, examination is a process, and it starts with procuring of exam materials. It goes into logistics later on, and lastly, into payment of examiners. Honorable Speaker, the total vote for all that program is 12 billion. But for the start, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 5.9 billion so that this process goes on. In the course of time, this parliament will be able to appropriate the other resources to support it fully. Honorable Speaker, we have resources for recruitment of 20,000 more JSS interns in this budget at 7.5 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, in the area of health, Honorable Speaker, we have appropriated resources for procurement of vaccines. Honorable Speaker, vaccines, as you know, is very, very important, and that this country must be self-reliant in the area of vaccines. We have appropriated 4.6 billion for that. Honorable Speaker, we are building a cancer center at Kisii Level 5 Referral Hospital that is going to cost 1 billion from this budget. Honorable Speaker, we have UHC health workers that have been demonstrating across the country for the last, I think, 1 year. Honorable Speaker, it is the determination of this House that those workers be now converted into permanent and pensionable terms. And in this budget, we have allocated 6.1 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, this will be done only after thorough audit of the number of workers that exist. Because, Honorable Speaker, when these workers were hired, the number was 8,500. We have since established, Honorable Speaker, that some of these workers left the service, some counties hired them into permanent and pensionable terms, and the numbers have come down substantially. So, Honorable Speaker, the first thing that we have said here is that the Ministry of Health must first of all engage in thorough audit so that they'll be able to tell us how many of these workers are in their service before their contracts is turned into permanent and pensionable terms. Honorable Speaker, for a long time, the country is benefiting from rain-fed agriculture. And this has done so well, especially in the recent past, when we have been favored by too much rainfall. But, Honorable Speaker, this is not really reliable all the time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we have allocated 15 billion shillings to support irrigation programs across the country. We would like various parts of the country to engage in small-time irrigation projects that can continue to help the economy, even if we are suffering from lack of rainfall. Honorable Speaker, in the area of industry, the County Aggregation Industrial Parks, which is a partnership between national government and counties, is a critical program that is intended to help regions harness and develop products that they produce. So, Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we have continued to allocate more resources towards this program, 4.6 billion that is allocated towards that, so that those programs in the counties, they can be concluded so that our people can be able to benefit from those programs. Honorable Speaker, there are so many Kenyans that are still landless, that do not have, government cannot be able to accommodate, give them land where they can be able to act their living. In this budget, we have allocated about 4 billion towards resettlement of landless Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, in the area of blue economy, the 6 counties in the coast and the 4 counties along the Lake Victoria have also benefited. An allocation of 5 billion shillings to help those fisher folks around the areas at Lake Victoria, that is Siaya County, Homa Bay County, Kisumu County, Migori County, and the other 6 counties in Coast, Kwale, Kilifi, yes, Busia also. Thank you. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Busia. So this allocation of 5 billion shillings is going to support the blue economy projects along Lake Victoria, and also along the Indian Ocean. Honorable Speaker, we have allocated resources for the transformative affordable housing program, which, as you know, Honorable Speaker, is intended to ensure that poor Kenyans afford decent housing. This is one of the programs, one of the major programs of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And this program is successful, Honorable Speaker. If you saw last week when the President was in Mukuru launching the program, it was beautiful. We believe that this program needs to continue, and this House has allocated, we have allocated about 95 billion towards that. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that we have a broad-based government that is inclusive. And, Honorable Speaker, if you go through the budget estimates, you will see that we have distributed programs across the country. There is no part of the country that has been left behind. Even when you look at the infrastructure from Northeastern, from Garissa, from Mandera, we have at least a program in those areas. And this is the promise that the President gave. And we, as proponents of broad-based government, we want to say that we're living to that promise. And this budget is the first, the first of many that is going to restore hope to Kenyans and ensure that Kenyans feel that they are part and parcel of this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to urge members of this House to study the report and support it because the report is huge. It has many other programs which I'm not able to highlight here in this opportunity. Let members support this budget proposal, which is before us, so that in the end, we will be able to have a more progressive country. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
It be seconded by who? Seconded by who?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Majority Leader to second.
Proceed, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And allow me, Honorable Speaker, to first thank the Chair, our new Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and all the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, together with our chairs of the departmental committees and the entire membership of the departmental committees, and especially the very diligent ones like Honorable Nyikar, who is still here, to ensure that whatever he took before the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been considered. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting, I can hear others protesting like the Honorable KJ, in charge of the CII committee, to ensure that the digital economy is also well catered for. But Honorable Speaker, I was congratulating and thanking these members because when we usually break for the long recess, these members that sit in the departmental committees and those who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, this long May recess usually have no recess. And they put in a lot of their time away from their families, their constituents, to sit and deliberate on these budget estimates. Honorable Speaker, as the Chair has ably put it, these budget estimates, as they came to us, Honorable Speaker, come in the backdrop of a time that is both promising and one that where we are coming from a very difficult period economically. And that, Honorable Speaker, you can see from the revenue projections, from what we had last year, and with the challenges that we've had this last financial year that is now ending this June. Honorable Speaker, you remember this is a year that we had a very false start at the beginning of the year with the collapse of the finance bill. And eventually when we rescued the revenue-raising measures that were in the finance bill of 2024, at the beginning of December last year, we have only had about 5 months to be able to realize the revenue projections that had been envisaged as we prepared the budget estimates for the last